was in the shower and I was thinking about this sentence, and it was, you have beef with beef, but beef doesn't have beef with you. And, I've just been thinking about how a lot of people still think that red meat is like bad for us, but red meat is one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet. And a lot of people don't even consider eating more red meat until they're facing like a health crisis. And I think one of the most important things to look into is, if you're scared of red meat, is looking at all the people who have healed from autoimmune issues. And like I always say, the immune system, you're thinking about, whenever I'm thinking about the immune system, I'm thinking about pregnancy nutrition. Okay, there's a reason why pregnant women have to pick up their B vitamin intake, have to take a multivitamin during pregnancy. One, it's a stressful time. And all of us, we're here going through a very stressful time. And I want to talk about background radiation, how our levels of background radiation and our catabolism has never been higher. But I want to finish this thought on pregnancy nutrition. When you become pregnant and you're taking the multivitamin, it's not just for the baby's growth. You're also increasing protein, amino acid consumption, vitamins, minerals, nutrients for the immune system of the mother. Because there's so many, it is dangerous to become pregnant and to be not having enough nutrients, because the baby is going to take those nutrients, right? Women can go through gestational diabetes, only during pregnancy, where the baby literally starts to just strip the mother away, and then the body goes into diabetes is a way that the body protects us. So we start to become insulin resistant, and we just pack on fat, right? And nutrients aren't getting into the cell, because the whole point of insulin in diabetes is that insulin is bringing energy into the cell. And so when we become insulin resistant as part of diabetes, energy is not getting into the cell. So it's kind of like mini starvation. But I talked to someone recently who said they became anemic when they became pregnant, right? So the baby requires all these minerals and nutrients, but our immune system does as well. And a lot of times we won't understand how stressed our system is, because we become so insensitive to the cues of our body, to fatigue. We don't even realize how tired we are, how stressed we are, how irritated we are, how disconnected we become, until a major crisis breaks loose, or you become pregnant, and then it's really like, wow, I need these minerals and nutrients. But autoimmune disease is one thing to really look into. If a carnivore diet is a saturation of amino and fatty acids. If you don't know, when we're eating animal-based protein, a high-quality protein, we are getting in all the essential amino acids. This is different if you're on a plant diet. We're not getting that full essential list in the quantities that we need to be getting stuff in. So it's very simple, and then it's not simple at all, because I'm in this biochemistry class right now. I'm just learning all these things, and it's like, the more that I learn about these processes, the more I feel like I don't understand things. But there's one thing that I keep thinking about, and that is the thoughts that we have about ourselves are also determining the structure and the function of how we use these minerals and nutrients, and how we interact with the environment and the people around us, and the sun and the exercise and the sleep. And on this note here from my biochemistry class today, structure determines function. So all of the amino acids, they just like, it reminds me, bring me back to Alzheimer's dementia, right? There are proteins, right? The body's made of proteins. That's why it's healthy to pick up our protein intake. The proteins of the brain become denatured. They lose their structure. And that's how, when they go and do autopsies and they look at the brain, they can determine if someone had Alzheimer's dementia, because of the the structure and the function of the proteins in the brain have become denatured. Every time we work out and work on our physical system, like let's say like we're having issues with triglycerides and cholesterol is one of the major things that people have issues with, and same thing with insulin resistance. Every time we do a muscular contraction, we are teaching the body, when you put on muscle, structure determines your function. Structure. Without skeletal muscle, we'd be a bag of bones on the floor. Our ligaments would be tearing and pulling. And so if you've been tearing and pulling ligaments, I want to invite you again to listen to these signs and symptoms of the body. If you look at, you could just easily go back 100 years ago when autoimmune conditions were very rare. Pulling random ligaments and like rotator cuff injuries, all of these little ligamental injuries, this is like the immune system needs nutrients. The body needs these amino and fatty acids. Like, it is concerning to me because of these things that I'm always thinking about when I hear people talking about, oh yeah, I tore this, and like I was just putting on a pair of jeans, or just randomly, it's like our bodies are falling apart, and we, I feel like sometimes I'm the only one having these red flags pop up, but it's so important. Structure determines function. As we age, the aging process is hitting us at a younger and younger age. So we were going back to, in the beginning, I talked about catabolism, right? We have these two major sides of the nervous system or metabolism, where we're either going through anabolism, which is building up, the system is building up. You could think of testosterone, our steroid hormones, building and growth, ana builds. And then we have catabolism, right? I'm building tissues here, and then I'm breaking down. Cats break things. I'm breaking things down. You could think of cortisol, right? If we're gaining a lot of weight, we're facing insulin resistance, I'm facing a lot of cortisol, breakdown in my tissues. If I'm gaining muscle, if I'm gaining weight, I'm losing a lot of muscle, right? We're going towards this insulin resistance state. That's what the waistline. When we gain weight in this middle section, it's usually insulin resistance. Because in diabetes, everything gets shunted towards the middle. So during this process, I'm likely also being over-controlled by my cortisol and testosterone, right? That anabolic, if one side is up, if I'm more anabolic, my catabolic will be shut off. If I'm more catabolic, my anabolic will be shut off. These states of metabolism we go through every single day and night. When we go to sleep, we're going through a repair mode. We're going through a fast, right? Tissues are being broken down. Things are being cleared in the environment. And they also say that we produce most of our growth hormone at night, so it's kind of contradictory. But so many things happen when we go through that process of resting and digesting. That's why when we go to sleep, like if you eat a huge meal before you go to sleep, you're shutting down those restful hormones, and you're messing up this catabolic anabolic signaling, which a lot of this has to do with light. Our amino acids are code for light. So that's why when we're eating in the morning and then in the light hours of the day, where we're more insulin sensitive, we will take care of those sugars. We will build muscle. The body will, if you eat a lot of tryptophan, it's going to break down into serotonin, break down into melatonin at night. Again, structure determines function. So you take the amino acid tryptophan, you could say tryptophan has the possibility of breaking down into serotonin or melatonin, okay? If I decide to eat all my tryptophan at night, my body is not going to do the same things as it would during the light hours, because tryptophan is also, it's called like an aromatic amino acids, so it has a lot to do with, it communicates with the sun. Like our body uses energy through the sun. And it also has another pathway it can break down into kynurenine, which is involved with inflammation and disease states. So look, I feel like I'm all over the place here, but the point I'm trying to make is that if we don't have enough nutrients and amino acids in the environment, we will be in a hyper-catabolic state. The thing that our ancestors did not have to struggle with is background radiation from the phones, from the Wi-Fi. All of the technology that surrounds us is putting us into an elevated catabolic state. This means that we are facing quicker tissue breakdown than ever. So if you are on a vegan diet, you doing a vegan diet today, surrounded by all the technology that we were not surrounded by 100 years ago, is a completely different diet. We are in a new earth. We are in a new place. We need to embrace our density because our bodies are falling apart and screaming for our attention, and they need us. Like a baby needs you to hold it and care for it and nourish it and take it for walks and blah, 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 blah. Rest. That's how our bodies need us. And when you buckle down and you look into the biochemistry, the proteins of the amino acids, it makes so much sense why we need high quality, dense amino and fatty acid foods. And so I'm not a plant hater, but I just want to invite you, this is just an invitation to look into how it's helped people with autoimmune diseases. And, if you couldn't make that connection when I was talking about hypercatabolic state, okay? Hypercatabolism means that we are eliminating nutrients, magnesium, calcium, potassium. The immune system becomes elevated. Our inflammation, fires, signals for health become increased with radiation, background radiation, because we know the dangers of going to sit in an x-ray machine for extended periods of time. We need to be able to apply that to our everyday life. And when you're starting to look at all these diseases, how they're becoming more prevalent, what is the source behind it, even talking about cancer is described as highly inflammatory disease. And so we need to look at all of the sources of why that can be. And I just believe in investing in cellular currency, which is the amino and the fatty acids. That's how you invest in cellular currency, in cellular abundance. You give yourself the protein that we need to build the hormones, build our ligaments, our tendons, our muscles, our skin cells, collagen, melatonin, mitochondria, all of these things. It's our DNA expression, So anyway, I'm going to leave this here. I hope this made sense, because sometimes I feel like I'm all over the place, but I just know I am so passionate about these topics, and so I'm just going to keep sharing my ideas. And if you find them helpful and you know someone struggling with mental health as well, this is really kind of where I got into all of this. I was taking an anxiety medication years ago, and I didn't want to keep taking it anymore. And it was a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and so that's how I got to studying about the amino acids and the tryptophan, and starting to question, are all of our hormones, are they coming from food? And is my body, do I just need more muscle in my body? I need to expose myself to sunlight. I need to change my mindset, my habits, everything like this. And that's the journey I've been on. And it's been a long journey. It's been a long time. And I'm learning new stuff all the time. I'm in school, I'm in classes, and, like I said, the more I learn, the more I feel like I don't know. But I do know that it is important to remember that you're always in the right place at the right time. And like Alan Watts says, he says, don't rush the flowers. The flowers are not in a hurry to grow. And yeah, so I'll leave this here, but I do wish you the best of luck and the sweetest of dreams.